It's with great pleasure that I welcome you to this year's Founders Day lecture and homecoming here at the Rock City in Nkwetia. Traditionally, we have held the Founders Day lectures in Accra, but after 67 years, we believe that we need to come home to Nkwetia to give full meaning to the celebration of the Founders Day, which essentially is to recognize and remember the birth and founding of St. Peter's Secondary School. It is the sacrifice of Nkwetia that has birthed the school we proudly call our own. It was the sons and daughters of Nkwetia who gave up 110 acres of their land, ceding their livelihood for the benefit of you and I. It cost the founders, Nana Santi Adam III, Nkwetia Hene, Opening Kwojo Fodro, Opening Kwekwan Pedu, Opening Nyankumago Ado, Opening Kwekujani, Opening Kwojo Fosu, Oba Pening Sewa, Opening Onguna Fache, and Opening Ofosu Bako. It cost them to set up the school. Today, the school boasts of all old boys in engineering, medicine, politics, law, education, ministry, business, the security services, sports, music, and occasionally we seek bragging rights at the NSMQ, even though for the past few years we've been failing woefully. All of this is because of Nkwetia, and we should never forget that. We as global executives believe that the Founders Day lecture should always be held in Nkwetia, as a gentle reminder to all of us that we are because of Nkwetia. We intend to commission a documentary on the founding of our school to forever ingrain in our hearts the sacrifice and love of Nkwetia. As executives, this is our 8th month in office. It has been a challenging 8 months. And our greatest challenge, and I'm sure you all can guess, has been money. The finances of the association is poor. We have not been faithful as Perscoba in our financial contributions to the association. The existing model of our year group dues to the global is not working and does not provide the needed financial support for the association. We have therefore, as executives, introduced the hybrid model for the global association to collect dues from individual Perscoba as well as from year groups. The individual dues are in 5 categories of bronze, which is 240 Ghana cedis a year. Silver, 500 Ghana cedis a year. Gold, 1,000 Ghana cedis a year. Diamond, 3,000 Ghana cedis a year. And platinum, 5,000 Ghana cedis. This is a clear case of Hishemuna Yumpana. We believe every Perscoba across the globe can at the basic level afford the bronze category of 240 Ghana cedis a year. This is the only way we believe the association can be sustained and remain relevant to the school and to the alumni as a whole. To this end, we as global executives have invested in revamping our website and creating a payment platform which makes it convenient and easy to make payments wherever you are in the world. We are without excuse now. Our global secretary, Michael Oponje, will go down in history as the first Perscoba to pay the individual dues. But because he's an executive, I will overlook him and give that honor to Perscoba Kofi Danso of the 81-83 year group, who has paid his individual dues in the diamond category. Senior is around. Let's recognize Senior for me, please. It is our hope, Senior, thank you, that all Perscoba here and online and across the globe will take the opportunity to register and pay their individual dues. Our in-house team, led by our global vice president and our partner, Koba, will carry out a demonstration for us today during the lecture. And I, as president, will pay my individual dues in the platinum category today to open the doors, so to speak, for everyone. We hope to get a minimum of 2,000 Perscoba across the globe to pay individual dues by the close of this year, without which we believe we will not have an association in the next 2 or 3 years. To our school, St. Peter's, the numbers in our school are at incredible proportions. The student population is in the region of 3,000. A walk around the school yesterday was disheartening. Boys, is horrible to say the least. We as global executives will work hard to achieve the construction of a dormitory block. I know that putting up a dormitory will require putting up classrooms and other amenities to complement the dormitory, but I still believe we must act to get a dormitory quickly. We must also assist the headmaster to control and limit the intake into the school every year. We cannot continue to admit 1,000 students every year into a facility that was built to house 700 students. It is 700 students. It just isn't sustainable. Perscoba, we have a lot of work to do. We thank our speaker, our chairman, and all of you for honoring our invitation. Past Perscoba presidents, I want to especially mention you for your hard work in the past. We wouldn't be here without your hard work. So I welcome you all to Nkwetia and to our Founders Day lecture. I believe that we'll have a thought-provoking discussion that will shape our attitudes of those of us present today and of generations unborn towards our school. Dignitati hominum.
A bigger round of applause for our president. The same small boy, he used to worry me in school, pal. And then we were having another conversation, and I said, Okra was sister. And he said, oh yeah, let me see her picture. Oh, okay. So I started writing letters to his sister. But, you know, we had a deal that I should marry his sister. I gave him all the protection that he needed in school. Some way, somehow. He didn't. But, you know, I have forgiven him. Now, he's my akontapa. As to the real meaning of akontapa, it is between me and him. So I want to introduce my oirepa, Janet Osae-Kwapong. I don't want to use Mrs. something because that guy, if I get him, I'll choke him. Janet, let's see you. She's Rosek. There are two ladies here who say they are not Rosek, they are roses. They have explained and explained, but you know, I don't understand. But we can't do bone to bone like that. You people like bone to bone. So they came to at least give us some flowers. So we have Elizabeth and Sharon. Thank you for adding beans to the curry. Once I have brought this laptop, then it means that I didn't need heavy power. I'm going to introduce to you our chairman. I need a laptop because it's heavy. So please pay attention. He also completed St. Peter's, like he completed, 7 years, from 1977 to 1984. And then he was commissioned into the Electrical and Mechanical Engineering Corps of the Ghana Armed Forces as a second lieutenant on 14th August 1987. He completed his junior and senior command and staff courses at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. He holds certificates in equipment support from Electrical and Mechanical Engineering Corps of the British Army, operational logistics support from the UN Institute of Training and Research, and International Peace Support Operations course from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He holds certificates in internal crisis management from Cranfield University, UK, defense management from the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, and UN Staff Officers course from the German Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Hamburg, Germany. He holds a certificate in strategic management from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, school, also in Germany. In addition, he holds a certificate in defense resource management from the Naval Postgraduate School in California, USA. His appointments, key among them, Commanding Officer, Base Workshop, Burma Camp. Commanding Officer, Army Headquarters. Director, Army Logistics. Acting Director, Army Administration. He was also the Chief Military Personnel Officer and Chief Training Officer, both at the United Nations Mission for the Referendum of Western Sahara. His last appointment as Director General was Director General Plans, Research and Development at the General Headquarters of the Ghana Armed Forces. Among his principal duties were strategic planning of the Ghana Armed Forces, researching to enhance the future development of the Ghana Armed Forces, determination of the strategic disposition of the three arms of service, Army, Navy, Air Force, budget management, as well as the development of policy for the formation and organization of new units. By way of civil qualifications, he holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, an international diploma from the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. He also holds a Master of Arts degree in International Affairs, Executive Master's degree in Business Administration, both from the University of Ghana, and a postgraduate certificate in Contemporary Management from the Nobel International Business School. He holds another Master's in Applied Business Research and then Doctor of Business Administration degrees from the Swiss Business School. He is proudly a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineers. The General has wide and varied peacekeeping experiences. He has served 4 duty tours with the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, 2 with the United Nations mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and a duty tour each with ECOWAS force in Sierra Leone and United Nations mission in Sierra Leone. He has traveled extensively for the Ministry of Defense, the Ghana Armed Forces, including Egypt, Israel, Azerbaijan, South Africa, the US, Germany, UK, UAE, China, Brazil, Serbia, Republic of Korea, and Turkey. He's married, 3 girls and a boy. He has hobbies. He plays tennis. Gentleman plays tennis. He farms, and he also plays golf. Perscoba, let us, with a big round of applause, welcome Major General Richard Adojani.
Thank you so much, Mr. MC. I normally want to do my things on the podium. So you do it with this improvised one. And thank you so much for all the kind words said about me by the MC. I'm a Perscoba. Like he said, I was in Perscoba from 1977 to 1984. Of course, Shaba was my senior. And we used to, Shaba was in Kizito. And his name, Ajeba, was the most popular name in St. Peter's. So it was so difficult for this gentleman to move from Kizito across, I don't know, the same lane, across, yes, through the Paris area. So either he has to get up in the morning early and go to classes, or sometimes when he wants fans, maybe Sunday afternoon. And when he starts and it's Ajeba, it was I think it was the most popular person on campus. That said, so Dr. John Osae-Kwapong, who is the executive director of the Democracy Project and lecturer at the Villanova University. I understand there are two past presidents here, Shaba and Balai, the various alumni year groups, all the Perscoba alumni, president, the chaplaincy, I see the chaplaincy from the school. I'm sure there's some staff, workers, and of course the students from the school, the media, our distinguished invited guests, our ladies from St. Rose's, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, bonjour, guten Morgen. I presume we still teach German and French in St. Peter's. I also understand we have people joining us virtually from across the world. You're all welcome to the program. So first of all, let me express my deepest appreciation to the organizers of this program for the honor done me by inviting me to chair this historic Founders Day lecture and homecoming. It is always a humbling experience, and for me, a pilgrimage to be cherished anytime I find myself in my former school. On such occasions, I'm always filled with nostalgia as I tread the grounds that hold so much of the mysteries of my past. Today, I'm a proud Perscoba and belong to the body of illustrious St. Peter's alumni who had the privilege of being groomed by dedicated, disciplined, and innovative staff that the school has always been noted for. Ladies and gentlemen, in the year 1977, a little boy from Nkoko entered the gates of St. Peter's Secondary School, as it was then, with some trepidation, out by all the impressive environment, and to his young and imaginative mind, fearsome-looking seniors who probably didn't have anything better to do other than make life uncomfortable for fresh little boys. The typical village boy that he was, it was simply a Herculean feat to have been accepted for placement at St. Peter's, the icon of successful academic pursuits in that part of Ghana. Today, several years down the line, and still benefiting from the solid roots of discipline, nurturing, and the love of knowledge imbued in me by my alma mater, here I am, all grown up, and sincerely grateful for the opportunity to network with so many of our alumni, many of whom have probably not seen each other for years. Allow me, therefore, to once again say how pleased and humbled I am for this opportunity to be part of this Founders Day lecture and homecoming of the greatest, one of the greatest schools in the country, St. Peter's. We used to call St. Peter's Secondary School, and now St. Peter's Senior High School. But let me pause for a moment to for us to ask ourselves at all, what is this whole Founders Day about? For me, Founders Day is a day set aside especially to remember or to commemorate all the personalities through whose efforts an institution or a concept came into being. For us, Perscoba, it must therefore be a day that we recognize the forebears of our former school and the foundation blocks they laid that have blossomed into the current St. Peter's SHS in Kwitia. For the benefit of those who might not know, we can perhaps revisit history and learn from the foundations of this great institution. Sir Francis Drake, the English navigator and sailor, is credited to have said that great things have small beginnings. My research tells me that St. Peter's began as an institution of academic pursuits on 5th February 1957 with two very determined teachers who decided to take on some 36 pioneer students in a private residence of a certain Openyi Ongunafachi. Understand, at that time, the only courses were arts and science, and the first headmaster was Reverend Father Clement Hodge of the Divine Word Ministries, who taught us, and with one Mr. Jari teaching science. This morning, I'm told we had the global president mention the elders of Nkwetia, Nana Asantia Dom the Third, and Nkwetia Hene, Openyi Kwejo Fojo, Openyi Kweku Ampadu, Openyi Nyankumago Ado, Openyi Kwekujan, I think who happens to be my namesake, Openyi Kweku Ofosu, Ba Penyi Sewa, Openyi Ofosu Bako, and of course, Openyi Ongunafachi, whose residence the school took place, started. And I'm also, at that time, I'm told within 3 years, the fledgling school had metamorphosed into one of the most reputable schools in the country. For this, I believe that the memories of these two marriages and the elders of Nkwetia needs a round of applause. They need a round of applause to their memory. It was this school, born from the womb of somebody's private residence, that has now produced so many illustrious personalities of our dear nation, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, the American writer Maya Angelou believes, and I quote, that nothing can dim the light which shines from within, unquote. This is the story behind our gathering here, to pay tribute to the perseverance and the fortitude that propelled our visionary pioneers to sow the seeds that have contributed to making some of us what we are today. And now from our current lofty positions attained, I dare say by dint of hard work, backed by solid determination to succeed where others might have failed, some of us can now look at the young ones of this great school who are sitting here and ask, were we once like this? And then it comes rushing back. The 13 stages as a Form 1 homo, for that was how we were referred to. Then graduating to senior classes to try, and in our turn appear intimidating. I'm talking when some of these guys tell me that I was a bully. And so I come to Form 1 and a village boy, I felt very, very bullied. And later on in my life, I meet these guys and say, you were in Paris bullying everybody. But I think that it was all for the good of it. So, then before we realized, we became past students and missing all the mischievous escapades that are usually associated with the interesting species called students. Ladies and gentlemen, it is said that an alumni can be as proud as their former school. This brings me to the theme of today's program, which has been carefully selected to generate a deep reflection in the deepest recess of our being as to what we want to make out of the institution from which we have benefited so much. But perhaps I should first address those of us unable to be called alumni of Perscoba. I've already spoken about my first 14 steps as a wild-eye Form 1 student several years ago. My initial character and personality were shaped primarily by the kind of classmates and colleagues with whom I interacted. The foundation stones that heralded the emergence of the new me were probably the same structures that formed the dispositions of what most of us have grown to become. Thus, everywhere we find ourselves, we need to be careful to conduct ourselves in a manner that extol the principle that were inspired our forefathers to ignite this fire in our lives. And as Albert Einstein puts it, and I quote, "Learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow," unquote. We must be able to let the lessons of yesterday shape our today and inspire us for tomorrow. As alumni, far be it from us that we should lose sight of the principles of our alma mater that stand us out from the rest of all the other alumni out there. We must also encourage our young ones who have been privileged to receive tuition at Perscoba to agree with Norman Vincent Peale, American writer and minister, when he exhorts us to shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will land in the stars. And again, Aristotle tells us that virtue makes us aim at the right mark, and practical wisdom makes us take the right means. Our students need to learn to take the right decisions as potential alumni and to take advantage of the opportunity offered them to work hard to attain great heights at the end of their course. This is to you, young men. And as my own Busumburu Kofi Annan puts it, education is the great equalizer of our time. It gives hope to the hopeless and creates chances for those without. But then the Chinese proverb also goes like this: teachers can open the door, but you must enter it yourself. I wish all of us the very best as we follow in the footsteps of those who have gone before us, even as they also did in their time, and also wish our students every success in your exams. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to crave your cooperation and active participation in the various activities planned for this homecoming. At the end of the day, may we challenge each other to see ourselves as key stakeholders in the bid to achieve the highest moral and academic standards for the school. That, I believe, continues to hold most prominent spots in our tales about growing up. At the appropriate time, I will introduce the guest speaker, and he will be speaking on the role of all student association in the 21st century, a burden, bragging rights, key stakeholder, or a social club. It should be an opportunity to reflect on our individual perception of who and or what we want to be going forward as far as the relationship between us and our former school is concerned. For me, however, I still believe that the words of the school anthem are very pertinent, and that our standard is raised from east, north, west, and south, always poised to rally around true dignity of our own human race. Finally, let me take the opportunity to thank our esteemed speaker, the executive director for the Democracy Project, and the main speaker for the August occasion, and of course, our global president, and all of you for being with us. Let us once again express our delight for having all of us gathered here around a noble cause, and may the day end on the highest note for our faithful alma mater that molded us into persons that we are today, filled with virtues that governs our paths. And before I sit down, I think I have a duty to introduce our guest speaker for the day. Our guest speaker is a democracy and governance expert. He holds a PhD in political science from George Mason University, a master's degree in public administration from Clark Atlanta University, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from Houghton University. He is currently the executive director of the Democracy Project, whose work is focused on governance, risk assessment in West Africa. He is also a Democracy and Development Fellow with the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, where his research work focuses on the current challenges of democratic regression and consolidation in sub-Saharan Africa. He has years of teaching experience, notable in places such as Villanova University, University of Findlay, Houghton University, and Metropolitan College of New York. He has held several senior administrative roles in U.S. higher education, such as Associate Provost, Baruch University, Associate Vice President, Nassau Community College, Assistant Dean, Hofstra University, and Director of Research, Columbia University. He is a supporter of Chelsea. He likes football, and sadly, he supports Accra House of Folk. Sadly. Like I said already, he will be speaking on the role of all student association in the 21st century, a burden, bragging rights, keys, stakeholder, or social club. Our guest speaker is Dr. John Osae-Kwapong. Osae-Kwapong. Let's welcome him with a round of applause as he comes.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Minister and Special Guest of Honor in absentia, Honorable Regional Minister in absentia, Reverend Fathers, Perscoba National Executives, my fellow Perscoba, ladies and gentlemen, future Perscoba and our young current students. One faithful afternoon in 1987, my mother summoned me and said, "I'm going to Bishop Bowers Primary School tomorrow to fill out your secondary school choices. Why not St. Peter's as your first choice?" That was quite a painful afternoon because for as long as I could remember, we, meaning my mother and I, had an agreement, or so I thought, that Presec was my school. This last hour change to the plan really baffled me. Those of you who know my mother will agree that she is not one to be challenged. So I simply said, yes, ma. Frankly, how many of us had the latitude to challenge our parents back in the day? Without asking, she proceeded to give me 2 reasons why Persco had to be my first choice. 1, your older brother would complete his O-levels at the end of your first year, and whatever credit is left on his student account will be forfeited to the school if he has no sibling to transfer the money to. To prevent that from happening, you need to go to St. Peter's so the money can be transferred to you. You know we are poor. I found that was not true. That year, 1988, I saw all these Form 5 and Upper 6 boys lined up in front of the student accounts window, taking money after O's and A's. I learned it was the credit on their student accounts. My own brother Roland, who is here with me today, was not going to lose his money. In fact, he got me to sign some forms so he could take some of that credit before any transfer to my account happened. I recently asked him about it and he said, Charlie, the way then my eye did that money top, that I no go feel make they take or give you like that. My mother's second reason, she claimed that in the elite Accra schools, parents must bring their children home-cooked food every weekend, and added, I am poor and cannot afford to do that. That too was not true. I knew many people in Accra schools who were not visited every weekend. But I guess this is what Plato calls noble lies. My mother could have simply said, you are going to St. Peter's, and ended it right there. My journey as a Perscoba began in August 1987. I finished O-level in 1992. I briefly mulled the idea of not returning for sixth form. I was interested in studying government, a subject the school did not offer. I weighed my options and thought of going to Achimota, but I saw how new students who came to Persco for sixth form struggled to fit in. Sometimes they never did till their 2 years was up. Thinking that would be my fate should I go to Achimota, I returned to finish my A-level in 1994, a decision I do not regret. I left Ghana in 1996, and although I regularly come back home, it was not until 2018 that I visited St. Peter's to see the school I spent 7 years getting an education. And even when I did, I spent just 10 minutes driving through the school. Today is my second visit. I therefore consider this a truly great honor and privilege when our president, Senior Kentosh, as we call him, asked me to give this year's Founders Day lecture. And when the theme was shared with me, the role of Old Students Association in the 21st century, a budding, bragging rights, key stakeholder or social club, I was ridden with a bit of guilt. While I firmly believe in the relevance and importance of Old Students Associations, I cannot describe my record of engagement with Perscoba as enviable. I will not describe myself as the poster child of old boys. So how can I make a case for something I sincerely believe is relevant, but my actions over the years have failed to demonstrate that relevance? But there is such a thing as grace, and I believe the invitation to speak is a form of grace extended to me. Besides, I suspect that, given my record as a student who never broke the rules, our president, Senior Kentosh, is using this opportunity to swam me, to use a Persco term, and punish me. Exactly. Something I'm proud to say he never got to do as a works prefect. So once again, thank you for the grace, the honor, and the privilege. In my reflections on today's theme, I would like to do 2 things. First, answer the questions posed in the theme, and secondly, offer a few thoughts on how we can strive to build a strong Perscoba. Old Students Association, a budding, Are all students' associations a burden? To put it within our context, is Perscoba a burden? The idea of a burden suggests two things: an imposition of a cost, financial or non-financial, on someone or some persons, and two, the expectation that those persons on whom the cost is imposed will bear it, either gladly or begrudgingly. When you think of it that way, then the answer is a categorical yes. Perscoba is a burden, for it imposes a cost on all of us. However, it is a cost that must be shared. But this burden, in my opinion, is a good burden. Admittedly, it may even create temporary inconveniences for those who show up to share in carrying it. Take dues, for example. It is the kind of burden that requires a spirit of volunteerism and sacrifice to agree to carry, because unlike, say, taxes that has the rule or the force of the law, our national executives, past and present, sacrifice time and personal resources to manage the organization. Other old boys do the same through the participation in various Perscoba events and activities, as well as their financial contributions. I'm a Catholic, and those of you who are know that during Mass, we engage in a penitential act by reciting the prayer that begins with, "I confess to Almighty God and to you, my brothers and sisters," etc., etc. I'm not asking for that act this morning, but I will be the first to confess to you, my brothers and sisters, that I have not shared in this burden the way I can or able to. And I'm sure in the silence of our hearts, there are many who may say same about themselves. We often see the same faces and hear the same voices on all matters Perscoba. I agree that we all have different obligations and commitments. We may even feel differently about whether this is a burden that must be shared by all. I, however, hope that as we gather here to celebrate Founders Day and reflect on this year's theme, we would examine how well we have shared in carrying this good burden and make new commitments, no matter how small. As our elders say, "Kitwe biensa." All Students Association, bragging rights. A few days before I left for St. Peter's that fateful day in 1987, I went to the barber in our area to get a haircut. Yes, believe me, I've not always had a receding hairline, or what some of you may call bald. I once had a lot of hair. As I sat down for the haircut, I said to the barber, "My mom wants you to cut it very low because I'm going to boarding school." I also did not know you could even get a haircut whilst you were in school. The barber asked which school I was attending. I said St. Peter's. I still remember the excited look on his face as he remarked, "You must be a really brilliant student." He was not a Perscoba, but he was a Kwewu man very familiar with St. Peter's. So even before I officially became a Perscoba, I recognized that being associated with the school was a good thing. It gave one the privilege of saying they were part of something great that was recognized even by those who had never set foot in the school as students. During National Science and Math quiz competitions, it is interesting to watch the reactions of all Perscoba, even the inactive ones like myself. The pride that is felt at each Persco win, but also the disappointment that is expressed at each Persco loss. I recall a Persco wedding in New York. This Perscoba went to a disco for sixth form. And as we laid claim to him as belonging exclusively to us, one of our seniors, Senior Balai, is here today, said to the disco boys, "If Kena had not attended a disco, today he would be an astronaut. What Persco took 5 years to build, a disco took 2 years to destroy." That is the bragging right we every so often exercise because of who we are. It is tempting to say that one can enjoy these bragging rights without having to go through the hallways and corridors of the Old Boys Association. For me, it is the collective nature of the bragging rights that reinforces what St. Peter's is all about. Old Students Association, a key stakeholder. I worked at a university in Ohio whose motto was meaningful lives and productive careers. Recall what I just shared about beddings. If you look closely at what it takes to provide a world-class education today and to prepare students to lead meaningful lives and have productive careers, it takes no stretch of the imagination to admit what it takes to accomplish that. While it is the primary responsibility of the state, as per the directive principles of state policy, chapter 6 of the Ghanaian Constitution, to provide an education to all citizens of Ghana, the state alone cannot do it. The same directive principles imposes several other obligations on the state, and we can all agree that regardless of the best efforts of the state, the reality of limited resources vis-a-vis unlimited public challenges means that there will be gaps. And those gaps will have to be filled by non-state actors. That is where groups like Perscoba come in. So yes, we are a key stakeholder in ensuring the continued success of St. Peter's. Our input in whatever way it is provided is intended for just one purpose: to ensure that St. Peter's remains the school we all remember, a well-resourced school doing its best to prepare students for life beyond St. Peter's. Old Students Association, a social club. I recall with fondness an Aponchike organized during my 2011 visit to Ghana to do some research work. I recall the recent end-of-year gathering at the Catfish Grill. Unfortunately, a terrible stomachache that day prevented me from enjoying a bowl of that impuso that was served. Nonetheless, it was nice to see people I had not seen in ages. In 2011, I remember seeing my house captain, who I had not seen since he left PESCO in 1991. Or the recent end-of-year gathering when I saw former school prefect Edwin Ano, whom I had not seen since he left PESCO in 1988. And the highlight of these gatherings is the recounting of the many stories of our time in PESCO. This is what social clubs do. They provide a platform for members to connect. And that connection allows not just for a recounting of the many funny stories from the past, but also fosters conversations about the many ways in which, as old boys, we can continue to be of help to the school and to each other. Social clubs, in connecting us with resources. Mr. Richard Inim, I still call him Siliabalai, is not one person I will call a friend when we were in St. Peter's. After he left, the next time we met was through Facebook in around 2009-2010. And the next time we would meet in person was 2011. Yet, the Perscoba Social Club connection turned him into an invaluable resource as I prepared to come home to do field work for my PhD dissertation. He allowed me to tap into his network in the cocoa sector and facilitated my ability to collect data with ease from these actors in the sector. His help was so invaluable that I promised to give both of my daughters, I have two, to his son to marry. But that was not the only sacrifice. When I completed my PhD, he made a special journey to the US to attend my graduation and celebrate the day with me. Today, he has become one of the people I am honored to call a friend and whose friendship I dearly cherish. That is the beauty of social clubs, and that is what I hope that as we grow and strengthen Perscoba, each and every one of us will have such stories to share about what Perscoba has come to mean to them to be part of the social club. So where do we go from here? I have so far asserted that Perscoba is an amalgamation of many things: a bedding, a forum for bragging rights, a key stakeholder in the present and future affairs of the school, as well as a social club. To wrap up my lecture, allow me to spend a couple of minutes to share a few thoughts on how we move forward to build the kind of Perscoba that I know our executives envision, and the kind of Perscoba that many of us wish to see. These are by no means an exhaustive list, and I surely do not offer them as the magic wand that will give birth to the kind of Perscoba that we all hope for. I offer them as helpful suggestions for reflection. 1. We are here today because we all share something in common: St. Peter's Secondary School. It is the bond that ties us. I implore leadership to regularly remind every one of us that this common bond is what serves as the foundation for building a strong Perscoba. And this common bond is what must drive all that we do in the name of Perscoba: sharing in the bedding, participating in the social club, embracing the key stakeholder role, and being willing to brag about the school. 2. While the common bond that ties us is necessary, it is not sufficient. Even as we reiterate regularly that we are all Perscoba, there must be a willingness to acknowledge that our memories and experiences of Persco differ. More importantly, we must be gracious enough to also accept that no one's memory or experience is more legitimate than his fellow Perscoba. One phrase often used to describe Persco boys is that we are anti-so. Be that as it may, I am a firm believer that we are the sum total of our life experiences. I do have a lot of positive memories of my 7 years at Persco, as many of you do, I'm sure. But I also do have memories of Persco that are not so positive. And there are some of my fellow schoolmates who may remember Persco as the place that gave them some of their most painful memories. To get to a place where we all equally share in the bedding, enjoy the bragging rights, embrace our stakeholder role, and participate in the social club, we must sum up our experiences and be able to say, in spite of it all, I am happy to be a Perscoba. And I do hope that a critical mass of us get to that point. But if some don't, let's be gracious enough and prepared to accept that as well. 3. In that acknowledgement of the many experiences of Persco, the good, the bad, and the ugly, we must find it in our hearts to forgive and extend grace to the past, especially of the memories and experiences that left us with not so pleasant memories of St. Peter's. In asking to forgive the past, I am in no way downplaying those experiences. I fully recognize how long those memories can linger. And without the acknowledgement and willingness to forgive, it does not enable us to fully share in the bedding, participate in the social club, embrace the key stakeholder role, and be willing to brag about our school. 4. The voices and faces of Perscoba matter, and we must leverage those voices and faces. I often use my friend Seth Achamfoyeboa as an example on our year group platform. We have a good friendship that goes all the way back to 1987. He has become my personal ambassador. Whenever funds are being raised, I can expect a phone call or text message from him that simply says, "Hey, I need $50. And when I ask him what for, he would say, "Send it to Frank as part of the fundraising efforts." There are times where we must send emissaries on behalf of Perscoba. And when we do, we must be strategic in those we because it does have an impact on how successful our efforts will be. Vice President Fuifiajo, he was informed too when I arrived as a Form 1 student. I still call him Captain Fuzi because he was my Luanga house captain. I remember his friendly advice to me to attend the end of year gathering this past December because I happened to be in Ghana. It is one of those situations where you say to yourself, how can I in good conscience and respectfully say no to Captain Fuzi? You just can't. Let's identify such persons and such voices and use them to reach other Perscobas. 5, exercise patience. From the earlier points raised, there are things that won't happen automatically or overnight. An appeal to being a Perscoba, while necessary, is not sufficient. It may be frustrating to collect dues. Senior Kintosh, our president, has threatened to deduct my dues from some cash he has promised to give me. That is not being patient. We must bear with one another as we cultivate the kind of energy and spirit to get the best out of each other for the sake of Perscoba. It will happen, but not overnight, but it will happen. I have every confidence in the leadership of Perscoba that they would make it happen. And lastly, we must honor our commitments to each other. In sharing in the burden, participating in the social club, embracing the key stakeholder role, and being willing to brag about the school, we are bound to make commitments to St. Peter's, to Perscoba, and to each other. No matter how big or small those commitments are, we must endeavor to honor them. When we do so, we strengthen the bonds that tie us and foster the right kind of spirit we need to grow Perscoba. In closing, here is my pledge to Perscoba. 1, an annual donation of $500 to the association. 2, I would also like to work with the executives to set up what I want to call a Center for Student Advising, to offer free guidance to our students who, after SHS, are interested in U.S. higher education for their first degree, or after those who complete their first degree are interested in postgraduate studies in the U.S. As part of this center, I would offer to do the following: hold free seminars on studying in the U.S., guidance through the application process, review of application materials, and for those interested in postgraduate studies, offer you a free seminar in research methods, something you would really need a strong foundation in for study at the master's or PhD level. I consider this the least I can do to share in the Perscoba burden. So once again, thank you for this opportunity. Long live Perscoba, long live St. Peter's, and may God give us tomorrow to see a more vibrant Perscoba. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor. Thank you very much.
Have we stopped clapping? That is my akuntapa. Yeah. I want us to chill a little bit, okay? Let us just take in what Dr. Osae-Kwapong has just said. Before we get into discussion on his lecture, we have some companies that support us. And for this event, Koba Business Solutions have provided us with some support. Imperial General Assurance. And then Virtual InfoSec Africa. In fact, where's Seche? He's gone. Well, okay, so when he comes, I'll introduce him because he's been of great support to Perscoba. So we need to introduce him. And then Kintosh, our president, asked me to speak to somebody to be at this event. That is our regional minister, Honorable Seta Champon. Do you know his Perscoba? We're all in Kizito 3. Unfortunately, he has some other engagements, so he cannot be here. But he's given us something, some small amount of 25,000. And did you know that the overlord of Kwao-Mahine is Perscoba? Okay. So Nana also has some engagement, so he couldn't come. Nana Kwamwa Ejapon the second. But he has sent us his platinum dues, 5K. And did you know the overlord of New Drabin, Dasibre Ekwamwa Boatin third, New Drabin Hine, it's also Perscoba. Unfortunately, he has some engagements at Old Drabin, but Meireno, Onoso de Baba. Don't worry. My two sons, first and second, went to St. Peter's. When the first one, I took him to school and we met the headmaster. He said, "Hey, school here, I papa no mudiao. So be careful." Afterwards, I was thinking, papa no mudia saying. But then my father started teaching at St. Peter's. He was a Paris housemaster. My mother was a matron at St. Peter's. In fact, yeah. In fact, Abusiano, if you didn't go to St. Peter's, there is some way. In person, make us know but there is some way. When I was also, going to write a common entrance, my father was the assistant headmaster at Ganas at the time. He was filling my forms and he said, "Which school?" I said, "St. Peter's." Okay, so you're done. Second choice, I was looking at him. Look, over Akasa, I was looking at him because in my mind, there's no other school. In fact, my mother was a matron at Koforia Setek, and then the Setek boys used to call me St. Peter's or Suicide, because in my mind, there was no other school. And then, okay, I told my father that, okay, Pojos, third choice, Ganas. You know, how is it that the man, assistant headmaster in Ganas, you are choosing, filling the form for you. You are choosing Pojos ahead of Ganas. And so he wrote Ganas as a second choice and Pojos as third choice. But you see, we've made lifelong friendships. Lifelong friendships. My former board, of the 7 people, 5 were Perscoba. So for us, it is not a burden. It is not a burden. It's St. Peter's. So we do all these things not out of burden. Out of, there's no other school. Do you understand me? There's no other school. So when you see Senior Balai, Honorable Shaba, and all, coming here, coming here, coming here. It is the love that they have for the school. At this point, I will shut up and I'll allow you also to speak. We have 15 minutes to discuss the lecture, and I will use my post as a former works prefect to be a dictator small. So who goes first? Yes, Father. Can somebody help me with it?
Thank you very much, our MC, Perscoba Major General Dr. Richard Adojan, the chairman. I sign to all existing protocols. I have very, I would say 4 little or harmless submission. The first one, I will call it the sin of omission, and I will explain that. Going back to our Honorable President's submission, he made mention of the founders of St. Peter's. And our chairman clearly states that the founders of an institution, our Founders Day is to commemorate the founders and appreciate the hard work of the founders. In our present submission, there was no mention of the missionaries who established St. Peter's. And, well, I know it is not deliberate, but that's why I say sin of omission. So he will see me for confession and absolution. Yes. So it is good, it's good to go back and mention Bishop Oliver Bowers, who was the then Bishop, SVD, who led the delegation to the Nkwitia traditional leaders with Father Clement Osae, Father Graza Aloysius Hugov, and the others. These great missionaries are worth mentioning. Their contribution towards the beginning of St. Peter's cannot be overemphasized. And I think that should be, the history should be corrected or straightened. My second submission has to do with the lecture itself. Very brilliant lecture. Thank you so much, Doctor. I see the Old Boy Association not only as a social club also, but also as, it should be a welfare dimension, so that the members of the association can also benefit. I remember very well, I am not Perscoba, but I love St. Peter's so much, the fact of being SVD. So I would say that my second school is St. Peter's. One of our members, Old Boys, very brilliant when we were in secondary school, was part of the science and math quiz team. And along the line, he started drinking and his life became very miserable. And when we heard of it, quickly the members of the group searched for him and took him to rehabilitation. And the aftermath of the story, today when you see that gentleman, it is so heartwarming. And so the proposal is, as part of the welfare package, the members should look for those, unfortunately, who are trailing behind. And that is what will make the union proud of each and every member. The second submission is a proposal. The third one is a proposal. Is it possible that you can have a secretariat at the school, if it is possible, so that channels of communication to the leadership can be easy for us. I know some other schools, they have their secretariat in the school. If the possibility is there, they will propose that you have a secretariat in the school. Then finally, in 3 years' time, St. Peter's will be 70 years. And I'm happy President mentioned about a documentary, which is very important. If we can already start planning a very interesting documentary for this occasion, will be very laudable. This is my humble submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father. Sin of omission left those trailing behind and the secretariat at the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father. We confess our sins. Mr. Chair, whilst my president was doing his presentation, he mentioned some names, including a woman, those who helped for St. Peter's to be established. And as at now, I think by the next 3 years, everybody might forget about them. In such cases, is it not possible that we can do some things in honor of them? Osae-Kwapong, I know whilst we were there, the name was coming, but nothing about that have I seen or heard about. When we say we are building a science lab for Nana so science lab, then we can feel proud of those who sacrificed for St. Peter's. So in future, if somebody is doing something, he knows that the future generation will come and read about them. All the 8 people you mentioned, it's only for Osae-Kwapong and something, 2 of them, Onguna, Fachi, that we always talk about. Not knowing even there was a woman at that time who sacrificed for St. Peter's to be established. And whilst we are talking about them, if even we are doing some admissions, I don't know whether we reflect to say that where's Onguna Fachi's family? Can we give 1 slot or 2 slots? All these things are things we should reflect and find a way to help for people to give up their best to sacrifice in times like this. We know we have challenging and difficult times, but if people get to know that they will be remembered in future, they will do their best. So I want us to reflect and go back. Those who build the school, we have Clover House, Kizito House, something. You are talking about building a dormitory, and say Onguna Kwachi's dormitory or Oudo's dormitory. Sorry to use Oudo. That's how I know my father, Joseph Grazel. You see, he did a lot for the school, but I haven't seen anything named even after him. Let's look at all these things. Whilst we are celebrating the 70th anniversary, we should be able to remember such people. It's not always being talked about them, but let something be there to reflect, to tell that these are the people. I think our time, we're trying to do some bust for them. I don't know how it ended up. We did about 2 or so. But all these people should be remembered in a way that will help many people to sacrifice for St. Peter's. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senior. Senior is asking what we have to do to honor the founders and then those who have contributed immensely to the school. Senior Adupi.
My name is Peter Jariado. I left Perscoba in 1990. Perscoba, is it a burden? I wouldn't call it a burden. I would say it's an obligation. And it is one that we must all discharge with great enthusiasm and pride. Somebody gave their premises for us to start the school. A school that started with, how many, 36 people. If he rented out the place, how much would it have cost per month? So yes, it's an obligation. And I think the heaviest burden is the one that is lying on the shoulders of the gentlemen around the table, the executives, past and present. And the least of the obligations is the financial part. These days, you don't have to go to the bank. From the comfort of your home, you can send money to support the organization. That is why the annual contributions is in categories. And I believe each and every one of us must discharge that obligation before we leave. I am discharging mine in the platinum category before I leave here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senior P.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols duly observed. Good afternoon, everyone here in gathered. My name is Suleiman Audu. I wouldn't say I'm Perscoba. I'm a little one. I completed in 2019, was in Kizito House. Currently, I'm a student of Economics and Finance in the University of Ghana. I'm also a student leader, and I'm the treasurer of the Students Representative Council of University of Ghana. And so today I'm talking on behalf of my generation, the younger ones. We've seen that the continuity of the association really matters, and therefore we also have to consider how we are going to incorporate the younger ones into the association so that taking up responsibility and obligations become very easy. How do we do this? We are talking about Perscoba being antisocial, but then after school, it is yourself till you make it, and then you identify yourself as Perscoba and then contribute. And so I'm suggesting that there should be something like a mentorship program that all of us can join as soon as we are leaving school, so that in as much as we are focusing on our interest, passion, and then various disciplines, we have Perscoba in the back of our minds, and at the end of the day, we know that Perscoba contributed to my can help us to contribute back to the association, because the association has last year at the Congress, when the elections was held, the global elections was held, myself and my brother here, who was president of the Perscoba UG chapter by then, I forgot to mention that I'm currently also the president of Perscoba UG chapter. Yes. So we mentioned about national service slots and then internships, and then we had 4 slots, I think from Cowbank, right, Mr. President? Yes. So we were able to get 4 slots for some of our colleagues. There were more than 4 people who were Perscoba graduating and then will be entering the national service scene. But then we were able to get 4, which was very encouraging. For the first time we reported on that. We are expecting to see more this year, and even more internship opportunities. We get experience for our younger generation, develop them, and then we all grow up together as Perscoba. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, young Perscoba. The 2006 year group is currently organizing health screening for teaching and non-teaching staff at the school. That's our former, what's his name? Obed. Yeah. Yeah, our former EC. Okay, a donation to the dispensary. Okay, so from here, we will all go to the school. The young boy was talking about mentorship program, and then internship opportunities. We will take that into serious consideration. Can you please give the mic to, I saw Mr. Ofosu-Kwapong.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Ofosu-Kwapong, sorry.
That's okay, that's okay. We are among friends. Yes, my name is Ofosu-Kwapong, 6870 graduate. Members of the high table, I'd want to make a comment on the brilliant delivery by our guest speaker. Excellent, I applaud you. St. Peter's, is it a bragging right, burden? And I want to comment on the burden part. But before that, let me say something. I left St. Peter's in 1970 and went to medical school, the University of Ghana Medical School. During my clinical years, one of my professors was then the head of surgery. He certainly picked on me. He never called me by my name. He called me St. Peter's. And his rationale was that if he asked a question and nobody could answer, St. Peter's must answer. And let me tell you one funny joke. We're doing some tutorials, and he kept asking the questions. He always let me stand by his side, his right side, and we'll go the other way. so that he says that if nobody could answer, when it gets to my turn, I should be able to answer. And in this particular question, the boy, it went around actually, people were having challenges. And the guy next to me gave the right answer. He ignored him and turned to me and said, St. Peter's. And I was confused. I don't think what the boy said was right. Should I say, I said, so I repeated what the guy on my right said, yes, of course, St. Peter's. So there's that kind of halo effect. But the point I want to make is that one day he called me to his office and he said, tell me about St. Peter's. What is it so special about St. Peter's? Because apparently, he said, I must tell you this. That year, if they had gone strictly by the grades, half the intake to the medical school would have come from St. Peter's. But they could not have, conceivably taken half the students from one school. So he was so impressed about St. Peter's. But the fallout, and I was talking about the burden, is that there is swing to such an extent that our social interaction has suffered. It's difficult to mobilize Perscoba to do anything. We just study and concentrate on studies so much so that we become handicapped in a little bit of our social interaction. And that's why I wish you'd have said something about that. I don't know how interaction was. My days, Rosa, St. Rose's was just about burden, so we didn't have that interaction. I don't know whether with the birth and maturity of St. Rose's, St. Peter's have been able to interact. That's how it was bone to bone those days. We call it bone to bone. Yeah. And we lack those social interactions. The question is, how can we improve a little bit about that? The other comment I wanted to make was what Senior Shaba talked about, the bus for, and that I don't blame the school. Because I remember some time back, the school called on families of the founding fathers. And they said every family should bring a bus of their founding father for the school to create either a museum or something. I know my family presented the bus of my father. And they said they were waiting for everybody else to bring it so that they would do the commissioning. The others never did, so we can't blame the school. Actually, one day I wanted to go back and say, can I reclaim the bust of my father? I don't know whether it's still in existence. So my point is that the school attempted to really honor the founding fathers by having the bust of them. Maybe the burden was placed on the families to present the bust. So can the school now take the initiative and create their bust and do that, which I want to support. With the graying hair, I've forgotten my third question, so I'll let it rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osae-Kwapong. I remember I made one trip to Akwetia to go and see Janet. Janet, you remember I came to Rosek? Oh, you don't remember? I came there. Yeah. Okay, I'll keep quiet. Okay, the next person who's going to talk. Oh, he's my father.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Eugene Heavy. I belong to the 83, 85-year group. Apparently, Yao is my cousin. My mom is a Japan. So the St. Peter's family, St. Peter's issue runs through our family, right from the pioneers. Apparently, his father was one of the few guys who digressed and went to Prempe. But apparently, 95% of the Japan family went to St. Peter's. Well, we've spoken about the presentation by the speaker. And I think along the line, I heard something like, what do we give back to St. Peter's? I know all students are doing their best. Times are hard. But I think all the same, we should try a little bit and squeeze and see how best, we can reciprocate what St. Peter's has done for us. There was something that was shared on the, executive platform. Students lie on the, with no beds, just mattresses lying on the floor. I was told, I stand for correction, that even the headmaster doesn't stay on campus because he has no place of accommodation. I don't know, Chaplain, if it's true, that, the building is in a dilapidated state. We are trying to mobilize ourselves, the 83, 85-year group. It's not be encouraging, but we are still pushing them. times are hard. Most of them are inching towards pension. But I think, because if the headmaster is not residing on campus, then how does it enforce discipline on campus? Then something will be lacking. Because he has to control the students as well as the teachers. So it's something that I want all of us to have better our mind to. What can we do to bring the headmaster back to campus? Because some of our colleagues visited where he was living. I was told in a single room somewhere in Price. A one and a half size bed. With, his shoes, not even a table and chair that the headmaster can sit on and say, I'm writing something for the sake of the school. So I want us to have better mind to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senior. Okay, please, quickly to Doctor, before he forgets.
Yes, thank you very much. My third point again relates to what the speaker said and the offer he made to offer tuition to the young ones, both undergraduates and the rest. All said and done, one thing I've also noticed, positive thing I've noticed about St. Peter's guys is that at times we may not have the initiative to do things, but like just what is offered to do. If somebody initiates something and you rope St. Peter's students into it, they can really mobilize and support that effort. So I was wondering whether, based on the offer he's made, whether he can expand the scope and bring others on board. In fact, the president, our president, and the vice president have come up with a brilliant idea. In fact, what's the vice president? This morning at breakfast, Fuzi and I were talking about, you've seen this video clip going about the new kitchen for secondary schools. And it's a brilliant idea. So look, why don't we ask our colleagues in North America, get 50 of them together to give you $1,000 each, and you can transform our kitchen overnight. It takes someone to mobilize them, someone say, look guys, we can do it, let's do it. And they'll come along. So let's piggyback on the idea that speaker gave and bring up a number of initiatives, and we can positively rally all students to help support the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc. Let's talk about money small. Wait, money. Senior Okutu has given his platinum contribution of 5K. Thank you very much, Senior Okutu. As we are talking, please bring the money. Bring the money. Who next, please? You yourself. Carry on.
Yeah, I just want to ask our speaker one question. Meaning, he said that his heart was in Presec, but his mom made him go to St. Peter's, and he has appreciated that gesture very much. What I realized with St. Peter's, a lot of our old boys, they didn't choose St. Peter's as their first choice. So when they finish St. Peter's, their heart is not with St. Peter's. So I want to ask him what made him to like St. Peter's even after school, because a lot of our old boys, they don't, I don't know, it's just not in them, though they completed St. Peter's. So I want to ask him what made the trick for him. Yes. It's not a conjecture. I've spoken to a lot of people, old boys, who I have.
So for me, I think eventually when I got to St. Peter's, the people I met, the people I connected with, there were some key people who also became a great inspiration. In fact, one of the people that I always mention, because again, I came to St. Peter's, I wanted to go to Presec because I really wanted to do science, and nobody had told me about science at St. Peter's. Then I get to St. Peter's and I'm realizing I'm not enjoying the sciences. In Form 3, I was struggling with physics, chemistry, biology. But there was this idea that if you are smart, you have to do science. But there was a particular year group. There was a gentleman, Senior Sankara. Yes. Yao's group was one of the smartest guys I met at Perscoba. And he was an art student. So it said to me, well, you can be smart and also do arts. And so that, for me, began to develop that appreciation for what St. Peter's came to mean, and then people like Yao, Balai, and the rest. So yes, originally I'd wanted to go to Persec, but looking back, I'm really grateful that I went to St. Peter's.
Any more? In fact, when we were Form 3, those who decided that you were going to do science, and those of us who decided to do business and arts, we were helping each other. That was what we did. We decided that we were going to do business. They decided they were going to do science. We were helping each other. And not like those days where 1 to 50 science, then the rest. So yeah, that's okay. Are we okay? Hey, young people, nobody have asked anything. Or you were sleeping? Mr. Bobby used to say, Kabidi, 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 and then he's holding a cane. Kabidi, Mun Kabidi, Umuba Kun Kabidi, Musan Kwarama Bama Kabidi, somebody should say something. Okay, before, so you must be thinking.
You made an introduction, you introduced certain group, and I was going to ask about this, our young boys in a very nice address. Personally, I don't know who they are. You didn't introduce them for us to know who they are. Then I'll just before that, I want to stress on 2 issues which have come up. First is how to get our young boys to, have interest in a Congress. I think at last year's Congress, I did mention about that, how year groups and senior citizens and all those things who can be made to belong to the Perscoba, the general one. So as the gentleman here proposed, let's think about it seriously. Secondly is about the advice, for the children who leave the school, how they will choose their subjects, especially for the SHS. It's very, very important. I suffered the same fate without any guidance. I think I had to go through a harder way to go up. If I had been guided at that time, I would have, gone up earlier than I did. Most of my mates, we left school in 6th form. They went ahead of me, but I had to struggle and then catch up because I didn't have any, advice on choosing subjects and all those things. So let's be very, very serious about that. And
Thank you very much, Senior.
Who these gentlemen are.
Thank you very much, Senior. I'll leave the introduction of these gentlemen to our president.
Thank you, Osae. So these are students of St. Peter's, current students of St. Peter's. We gave an invitation to the school to allow some of them to come in and experience the Founders Day lecture and hear about the history of the school so that they can send back and also interact with Perscoba. It is part of our plan to find a way of integrating them into Perscoba and building that desire and passion for Perscoba when they leave school. So these are the young men from current students of St. Peter's. But I'd also like to say I'm very impressed with how they're dressed and how they've shown up. I think we need to give them a big clap and also say thank you to the staff who have made sure that they turn out in this. When I was in St. Peter's, we didn't have a blazer, we didn't have a tie. I was telling Osae this morning that we were putting on a cloth to school. And if you are going to church Sunday morning, you don't have a cloth, they take your bed sheet and tie it around yourself and then you go. But this is impressive. Young men, keep it up. And trustee says that if you hadn't been to St. Peter's, because of the way you're dressed today, you would have gone to St. Peter's. So that's a big compliment. So that's why they're here. So thank you, Osae. And to Senior Heavy on the headmaster's accommodation. Yesterday I had a meeting with him it came up and he says he's not going to talk about it anymore. Action and not words. It's an issue that has been simmering and hanging for quite a while now. Some year groups have approached the global with some proposal. I'm here to conclude with them. So definitely I'll get in touch with your year group. I'm trying to put year groups together to facilitate the accommodation issue. So we are working on it behind the scenes quietly. Because I don't have a definite answer, I'm not going to say anything publicly until I'm sure of where we are with that. But it's something that is not forgotten by the Global Association. And I had a meeting with the headmaster yesterday, and it also came up at that meeting. So we are working on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Yupo will definitely ask a question. Let me just tell you this story. St. Peter's story. Kumunipa, my mate, came dormitory and said, your mother is looking for you. But how did your mother know that I know you? I was looking at Kumunipa. And Tumana Ifrauno. You know, so when my mother saw him, he knew that was her cloth. So he said, Kofreye Jebreme. And Kumunipa was black. Yeah, we were putting on cloth. And some of them, off record, you know, they will not even wear shorts. Yes. Who's going to answer the question? Yes.
Please, it's okay. So, good morning and thank you for the honor. My name is Albert Osae-Kwapong. I am the Assistant School Prefect in charge of administration. I'm a member of 3 Science 1 and a member of Foucault House. So, mention had been made about creating awareness for the boys to know who the old students are. But currently, the thing about St. Peter's is, just as you mentioned, you said the original minister was an old boy of St. Peter's, and I can clearly say that about 70% of our boys are not aware of this. Why? Because there isn't that much of an awareness as to who the old boys of St. Peter's are, where are they currently, and how they are faring. Because regardless of how adventurous and exuberant we are as young boys, they won't actually engage in something if they don't see or realize that certain people are thriving in those areas, which means they need to see that these people went to this school and they are thriving. But then we want to expand St. Peter's, but how are we expanding St. Peter's? We also made mention of social networking, and that one too is a clear example. We need to know who our old boys are, where they are, and how they are faring. That way, those who are selecting their schools will be aware. There will be that awareness that these are the group of people, the category of people St. Peter's has produced. So decision making for them will be much easier. And so, on behalf of the student body, we suggest that there must be that awareness as to the kind of old boys we have and where they are and how they are faring, so that to those who will be coming to the school in the future, they will know that these are the products of St. Peter's and they will be motivated to come to the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, okay. So, last two, Senior Bala first, and then
my name is Richard Anim. I left 91. My question is the headmaster's bungalow. Is this a new building? Is it being refurbished? What exactly is the state?
So with the headmaster's bungalow issue, there are two there's a complexity to it, and I wouldn't want to delve too much into it. There's a new structure, there's an old structure. and there's a complexity around it. So I'll beg of all of you to allow me to hold on now, not to say anything publicly. When I'm through with the complexities and I'm clear on what it is, I'll put out some announcement around it and see how we can all resolve the issue once and for all. So, Mr. Enim, please help me on this one, and then bear with me. Thank you.
All right, my name is Omari Daniel Kwabna, former works prefect of the school 2019 batch, and a proud member of Kizito House. So I want to make a plea, but the premise, for all meetings I've attended, congresses and whatnot, there's the issue of bankruptcy of Perscoba. We don't have money, and so